This video was brought to you by GiveWell. Over the last few years, fueled by the growth of mega dating apps like Tinder and Hinge, the market for online dating has exploded, with 366 million people looking for love online in 2022. And there's a ton of choices too, from the old school services like Match, OkCupid and Plenty of Fish, to the mainstream apps like Tinder and Hinge, to apps targeting more specific groups like BLK, Chispa or Pairs. The thing is that despite a wealth of apps and options, it often feels like you're just fishing in the same pool using very similar tools. That kind of makes sense though, because every single app that I've mentioned thus far, plus more than 35 others, are owned by Match Group. So let's unpack how we got to a world where love is monopolized by one company, and why that's probably not good for our collective love lives. Let's rewind all the way back to the dot-com boom of the 1990s, and more specifically, Stanford grad Gary Kremen. Now, like a ton of other people in this era, Kremen was trying to work out how he could profit from the new technology hype. And the answer to him was obvious: buying up catchy domain names. And to be fair to him, he got some good ones, with his company quickly snapping up jobs.com, housing.com, autos.com, sex.com, and you guessed it, match.com. Kremen's strategy here wasn't just to buy a bunch of easy-to-remember domain names and then sell them for a quick profit. Instead, his company, now called Electric Classified, was planning on replicating the classified section commonly found in newspapers. Now, if you're too young to know what that phrase means, then let me catch you up. Classifieds are essentially tiny adverts which anyone could pay to put inside newspapers. They were typically just a line or two of text, trying to sell or promote something. Now, these would be sold at a cheaper rate than the other ads in the newspaper, and would be categorized into sections, like the classified section for selling your car, promoting job openings, or looking for a partner. And you can probably see where this is going. The plan was that autos.com, jobs.com, match.com, and all of the others could sneak in and capture this market. Now, this is a slightly wild idea to our ears, but considering that the online dating space was essentially undeveloped at the time, this all seemed pretty reasonable. Group together singles in one place, filter by region, and let people call each other using the details provided. The thing is, though, that just like their physical equivalent, these digital classifieds had a pretty shady reputation. People worried about the possibility of fake ads and scams, as well as super sexual content also regularly creeping in. Add in the internet, and the skepticism only rises, with people generally, and perhaps reasonably, more concerned about meeting people that they've only met online. Add to these issues, electronic classifieds were having a whole load of problems behind the scenes. So by 1966, having butted heads with investors, Kremen left his own company, with the new ownership deciding that the issues surrounding online dating were just too high. So by 1977, they agreed to sell off Match.com. By 1999, Match.com had landed in the hands of another influential man of the time, Barry Diller. Unlike Kremen, Diller was a big shot in the world of media, having previously launched the Fox network and run Paramount Pictures as the company's chairman. Like Kremen though, Diller saw that the future was in online media. In fact, Match wasn't the only company that he snatched up, with his holding company Interactive Corp, or IAC, picking up a whole load of online media companies. Diller saw potential in Match specifically though, so over the next few years, the company invested millions in the online dating space, penning deals with giants of the era like AOL and MSN, as well as sponsoring the physical classified section of New York Magazine. They also rolled out a series of pretty odd and very 2000s adverts aimed at fighting the stigma surrounding online dating. At the same time, cultural norms were also shifting around Match, with online dating and cybersex becoming a prominent storyline in major TV shows and movies of the era. But Match wasn't the only company benefiting from these shifting trends. Competitors were also snapping at their heels. So in mid-2009, Match.com became the Match Group and quickly acquired a bunch of other dating brands, including People Media and Meetic, purchases which brought them more niche and international users. But they weren't done there, because the new Match Group's mission wasn't just to win, but to destroy their competition. Their first target was OkCupid, a dating service which appealed to a younger, more millennial audience than Match, who were interested in online dating, but didn't want to have to pay $30 a month to do so. OkCupid was also just more fun. Instead of being forced to build a long profile about yourself, OkCupid created one for you after asking a whole bunch of personality questions, which it also used to generate your compatibility scores with other users. So, how did Match beat this new competitor? Well, not by competing, but by purchasing, spending $50 million on OkCupid in 2011. And they hope to follow a similar strategy with Plenty of Fish, a site which captured the Middle America market by monopolizing search. Plenty of Fish managed to become everywhere by spending big and optimizing their site to play the perfect SEO game. The problem was that taking down Plenty of Fish was going to be harder. Their founder and sole owner, Marcus Frind, said that he'd never sell. The business was already profitable. He bragged about working 1-hour days, and he was raking in millions. Why would he even want to sell off his cash printing machine? Well, it seems that a dinner with Match CEO in 2015 might have changed Frind's mind, with him walking away from that meeting $575 million richer. With Plenty of Fish in the bag, Match's total spending on dating brands had reached $1.3 billion on 25 different brands, with them now owning 4 of the 5 largest in the space. But while these battles among the big traditional players were raging, another trend was also playing out: a shift towards mobile. In 2013, about a third of Match Group's signups came from mobile devices. But just 2 years later, by 2015, it was at almost 70%. Now, this shift was in part thanks to the launch of Tinder. Now, unlike others, Tinder was actually created in an incubator at IAC, rather than being purchased by the now massive conglomerate. When it started Tinder, though, they had a pretty classic startup mentality, inspired by the big tech playbook of the time. Make the service free, acquire as many users as you can, and work out how to make money from them later. And that's exactly what they did, launching a massively successful twist on the dating formula and bringing the medium to a more mobile-focused place with their swipe-based dating mechanics. In fact, the strategy was so successful that by the middle of the 2010s, essentially all dating apps were Tinder, but with a slight twist. That could be women making the first move, like on Bumble, or the use of social media to connect you with friends of friends, like on the original version of Hinge. That's right, Hinge started life as a Tinder clone, using similar swiping and similar profiles to the then dominant company in the space. Now, understandably, this led users to think of them and treat them like Tinder, something which upset Hinge's founders. They didn't want to just be Tinder, they wanted to beat them. And that was a sensible business strategy too. Around this time, a viral Vanity Fair piece berated Tinder for its role in hookup culture, describing them as patient zero in the dating apocalypse, with Vox remarking that romance as we know it has been destroyed. Tinder has replaced it with swiping and bad sex, and anyone who's serious about finding a partner is out of luck. Now, Hinge happily jumped on this bandwagon, launching an ad campaign which marketed themselves as the anti-Tinder. They also removed the Tinder-like elements from their app design, removing the swipe and designing profiles to actively slow users down. They weren't trying to beat Tinder's total number of matches or swipes. They wanted to maximize their favorite metric: good dates per user. It makes sense then, in a cruel and ironic way, that Tinder wanted to purchase Hinge. They didn't care that Hinge was shitting on their product, they just wanted to monopolize the industry. They wanted to ensure that even if you hated Tinder, your anti-Tinder alternative was also owned by the Match Group. So in 2017, they made a major investment in Hinge before increasing their stake until they owned the whole thing. Hinge hadn't beaten Tinder, they'd become it. Still actively peddling their anti-Tinder marketing and approach to capture a market disenfranchised by Tinder, but who is still able to pay Match Group. And that leaves us with a landscape where Match essentially owns love. In fact, Match is only one of 3 major Western dating services to be floated on the stock exchange. The others being Bumble Inc., which owns Bumble, and Grindr LLC, which owns queer dating service Grindr. Besides that, it's essentially all Match. There are over 1.5 million non-profit organizations in the US, and millions more around the world. So how do you know which ones are going to make the biggest impact with your donation? Well, GiveWell was founded to help donors with that exact question. They spend tens of thousands of hours poring over independent studies and charity data to help donors direct their funds to evidence-based organizations that are saving and improving lives. In fact, GiveWell has now spent over 15 years researching charitable organizations and only directs funding towards a few of the highest impact opportunities they've found. That's things like preventative malarial treatment for about $7, which can reduce malarial infections and, with enough treatments, can save lives in expectation. Together, over 100,000 donors have used GiveWell to donate over $1 billion, and rigorous evidence suggests that these donations will save over 150,000 lives and improve the lives of millions more. In fact, in 2019, when we sold TLDR-branded pin badges for charity, we turned to GiveWell to help select the charities that we donated to, ensuring the maximum impact of our giving. And GiveWell wants as many donors as possible to make informed decisions about high-impact giving. As such, you can find their research and recommendations on their website for free. You can also make tax-deductible donations to recommended funds or charities, and GiveWell doesn't take a cut. Plus, if you've never donated to GiveWell's recommended charities before, you can have your donation matched up to $100 before the end of the year, or as long as the matching fund lasts. To claim your match, go to givewell.org, pick YouTube, and enter TLDR News at checkout. And do make sure that they know that you heard about GiveWell from TLDR to get your donation matched. Again, that's givewell.org to donate and find out more.